friends, and welcome to Butterfly Meadows Homestead. I'm Dorinda. Today I wanted to bring to you my latest thrift store finds. So I stopped by the thrift store yesterday and I found these two items, and what a bargain they were. And I just wanted to bring them to you because one of them is a bread machine. This is a Sunbeam bread machine. I have to turn it over here. It is model 5841, and I'm not sure what year this model came out, so I'm not exactly sure how old it is. I'll try to look it up, and if I can find it, I will put it on the screen. But this is a Sunbeam bread machine. It makes 3 size loaves. It doesn't give me a pound size. It says regular, large, and large dark. Well, basic bread is regular, large, and large dark. So that sounds like 2 sizes of bread. So I would guess it's 1.5 and a 2-pound loaf. But I haven't even cleaned things up. They're still dusty. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up, and then we will make a loaf of bread and see how it turns out. Now, I did ask the manager there at the thrift store if they had tested these, and he said yes, that they had. And he said if I had any problems with it, to come back and see him. He said he was the only one that could help me if I had a problem with anything, but that he would make it right if it didn't work. But he said he did. They at least turn them on. They didn't bake a loaf of bread or anything, but it's supposed to work. And it looks like it has been used. It's very heavy, and this bread pan is heavy and big. It looks like a really large bread pan. It's got crumbs in it. Somebody did use it. How much they used it, I don't know. But we are going to clean it up and then bake a loaf of bread and see how it does. Now, I didn't tell you the most exciting part. So they had a sticker on here. I don't know if it's still there. They had a sticker on here. I don't know if you can see this little yellow sticker. The price tag says $8.99. But as you walked in the door, you know how the Salvation Army puts things on sale by the color of the tag? It said all yellow tagged items, clothing, and bric-a-brac, which bric-a-brac is anything that is not clothing pretty much, was half off. So I actually got this bread machine for $4.50. You can't beat that. In 2024, I got a bread machine for $4.50. I have not seen them that cheap anywhere lately. So I had to get it. Not that I needed it, but it's always good to have a backup. Now, I did look on the bottom of this one, and it has a 540 watt motor. Now, I have an old model Breadman, and it only has a 420 watt motor, but my KBS bread machine, which you see me using all the time, has a 710 watt motor. So it's kind of like in the middle of the line as far as the power of the motor. And that's just important if you're making doughs that are kind of thick. Like the Breadman struggles a little bit. Sometimes it sounds like it's groaning and struggling a little bit. So this one should do just fine, since the Breadman does fine. And I won't bore you with the cleanup of it, but I am going to clean it up, and then we're going to bake a loaf of bread. Now, my other find was not quite as big a deal as this one because it had a blue tag. It didn't have a yellow tag. This was $7.99. I don't know how many quarts it is, but it's a roaster, an Aroma roaster brand. It even has the rack. I don't know what else they come with, but it looks good. It really doesn't look like it has been used at all. It is so clean on the inside. I mean, it looks brand new. I don't think it's been used. It's just a little dusty. I don't know what I'm going to make in this first. I'm sure there'll be a future video coming where you'll see me using this roaster to make something. $7.99. I couldn't pass it up. I didn't have one, and I thought that's a great deal. That's a lot better than $40, $50, $60, $70 that they sell for in the store. So score on that. Okay guys, as you can see, I've been working really hard. I worked and worked and tried every method that I know to try to get the paddle out of this machine, and I could not. And as I've cleaned it up, I noticed it might be a little scratched up on the inside. I don't think I did that, but because of that, I am going to oil my pan and the paddle because I couldn't get the paddle out. May never be able to get the paddle out, but I did make sure it was clean everywhere up underneath and that there was nothing, you know, old stuck on in there. But I am greasing, oiling the pan really well. Now to make this Hawaiian bread is very soft. It's a very soft bread, and it has that pineapple flavor in it, that tropical flavor. I'm going to be using some pineapple juice, and we're going to be using the tangzhong method. I think it's also called udani, but the way I do it, I think it's called tangzhong. So first I'm going to make the tangzhong, and then we'll move on to the next step. So to make tangzhong, what you do is you take part of your flour and part of your liquid, whether it be water or milk, and you heat it until it congels. It's like making a gravy or a roux, and then you let that cool off, you know, to at least below 110, and you use that in your bread. And tangzhong, what that does, it changes the starch and the cells of how they absorb liquid, and it will cause your bread to be softer in texture, and it also causes it to stay fresh longer. I love to use tangzhong, and because this is Hawaiian bread and I want it to be super soft in texture, I'm going to do the tangzhong. So let's begin with that. So you're supposed to use like 3/4 of a cup of liquid and 1/4 of a cup of flour, or 2/3 and 1/3, just, you know, kind of break it down like that. I know that for this recipe, I need 1 1/3 cups of liquid. Well, I'm going to be using 1/3 of a cup of pineapple juice. So that leaves me with, then my egg is probably going to be, this is a very tiny egg, so it won't quite be 1/4. But to measure, you have to subtract the amount of liquid in your tangzhong from the rest of the liquids that you're going to put in your bread. Because if I add the liquid to the tangzhong to make the tangzhong and then go ahead and add the same amount of liquid that the recipe calls for, I'm going to have too wet of a dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out 2/3 of a cup of milk, and I'm going to use that to make my tangzhong. And then I'll subtract that from the rest of the liquid that I need to put into my tangzhong. So I'm going to put the 2/3 of a cup of milk here in my pan. And now here I have 1 cup of flour. And from this 1 cup, I'm going to take my 1/4 of a cup of flour, and it doesn't have to be exact. But I know this is, I'm going to count this as 1 cup when I add my tangzhong, and that way I don't end up with too much flour. So I'm going to turn my heat on to high, get myself a whisk, and this will happen really quickly. I am going to let this heat until it thickens. Okay, so already now this has thickened, so you should be able to see that. See how it has kind of gelled up and gotten really thick. So now what I need to do is let this cool down. I'm going to take its temperature, and as soon as it gets below 110 degrees Celsius, I will be able to continue making my bread. So I'm going to sit that over there and let it cool down. Let's see what the temperature is right now. It is at like 128. So it's going to take it a minute to cool down. But in the meantime, I can go ahead and be measuring out my other liquids. So I know that I have 2/3 of a cup over in my tangzhong. Now I'm going to crack my egg. I'm going to put my egg in my measuring cup because this counts as a liquid. And then I am going to add in my pineapple juice. Now, if I need 1 1/3 of a cup of liquid, and I already have 2/3 in my tangzhong, that means I need 2/3 of a cup of liquid remaining to finish off my liquids. So I'm going to take this pineapple juice and I am going to bring this up to 2/3. And that's all the pineapple juice I need. So I can't tell you exactly how much pineapple juice that was, but if you're not doing the tangzhong method, you could just go with 1/4 of a cup. Or 1/2 of a cup. I wouldn't use too much pineapple juice because the acidity then is definitely going to increase, and that might affect the outcome of your bread. I'm going to stir that egg in there. I'm going to add my oil. That was 3 tablespoons of oil. I have 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and I have 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. And here I have 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. I'm not going to add that yet. I'm going to wait until I add my tangzhong. The tangzhong is already down to about 111, so I'm just going to stir it a little bit more here. That'll help it cool down. And we are at 106, so now I am safe to go ahead and add this to the rest of my liquids. And if you like the grill thermometer that I'm using in the link below, the Amazon shop link below will take you to my website, which has a list of all my favorite Amazon things. Okay, now just for kicks, I'm going to take the temperature here of all my liquids, and it is 79 degrees, so we're fine. I'm going to go ahead and add my yeast in. So I'm going to go ahead and pour my liquid into my pan. Make sure I get everything out. Oh, it smells good already. I can smell the pineapple. And now I'm going to add the rest of my flour. So we're counting this as 1 cup, but I've already removed some of it. There's 1, 2, 3 cups of flour. That is 3 cups of good bread flour. So now we are ready to put this in the machine. Now this does have a front, so this says front, so that would be the back. So this goes toward the front. Just gonna pop it down in there, and I'm short, I can't see. So I'm gonna go with the large loaf. Large basic bread is what I'm going with. I'm not familiar with this machine, but if I had to guess, that would be a 2-pound basic loaf of bread. So I've got it on number 2, and I'm going to hit start. That gives me 2 hours and 50 minutes, which sounds about right. And I'll bring you down. We'll have a look on the inside. This is what it looks like at this point. Now, something I've observed when I'm using tangzhong is not to panic when the dough looks a little dry. Because I have added liquid before thinking, oh, the dough is too dry, only to get the dough too wet. So it does take a little longer for the tangzhong to autolyze with the flour. So just give it time. What I am going to do is I'm going to stop. And I'm going to go to the dough cycle, which is number 9. And let it mix here a little bit, see if it mixes any different. Here's what the dough ball looks like after about a 7-minute knead on the dough cycle. It is now on a 10-minute rest. So it started out saying 3 hours, and this cycle is 2 hours and 50 minutes. So it's got 8 minutes to go to rest, and then the basic large number 2 cycle will begin. Okay guys, so our bread still has 6 minutes to go, but I have taken the internal temperature and it's well over 200, and it's been my experience in the past with the Sunbeam machine and machines that have the upright pan like this one does. And this one also does not have a crust selection to select how light or dark you want the crust. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off and take this bread out because I don't want it to get any darker. But it did have 5 minutes left to go. But like I said, I took the internal temperature and it was well over 200. It looks like it rose up very nicely. Now I was not able to take the paddle out, so I am going to have a hole where the paddle was, but I'm going to try to get it out of the... It came out very easy. The paddle didn't tear the bread, it just slid right off, so that's good. See, it's already pretty dark down here at the bottom, and I don't like a super duper dark crust. I'm going to let it lay on its side, and I'm going to cover it up. We're going to let this cool, and then we'll come back and slice it. Sorry about the lighting. One of my lights has just stopped working. We've been having a bad storm. I don't know if the lightning affected it or what. Hopefully it's not too dark. But we're getting ready to slice our bread. It's very light. That's a good sign when the loaf is light. So we're going to slice into it. You should let your bread cool before you slice it. I'm going to slice into it. It's a very long loaf. So I'm just going to cut the top off here and we'll see what it looks like inside. Oh wow. Can you see that crumb? Hopefully I can pull a close up of that. It is beautiful and so soft. Just look like a pillow. Oh my. Look at that. Just look at that. I am going to put some butter on this and give it a taste. It smells delicious. That is so good. Just look at this. That is so delicious. You've got to try this. I just want to show you again the texture of this bread. Just look at that. I could not be more pleased with my $4.50 bread machine that I scored at the thrift store. So one of the reasons I did this video is to encourage you to look for used bread machines. I mean, if they don't cost much, take a chance. If you need a bread machine, take a chance. And you may end up with a wonderful bread machine. This is a great bread machine. It doesn't have a lot of extra functions, but it makes a great loaf of bread. And I just love it. Just look how soft. Look at that. See that? And that crumb could not be more beautiful. The crust is nice. The crumb is beautiful. This is an excellent loaf of bread. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to boop that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And check out my other channel, Devotions with Dorinda, if you like Christian devotions. And I will be back soon with another video. God bless. Bye-bye.